Hey, what's up guys? I'm BTC. I'm sure most of you are sick of your competitive matches getting ruined by throwers, levers, and server crashes, but guess what? It gets worse, because now there is a new bug that will cause your competitive matches to fail, and when it does, you won't just lose the normal amount of points. No, instead you will lose 600 SR. You can drop a full rank and then some from this one match loss. Oh, but don't worry, you won't have to keep playing because it also instantly bans your account for the rest of the season. And on top of that, if you try to appeal it, Blizzard absolutely refuses to do anything to fix it. So really, it's no secret that Blizzard servers have been steadily getting worse, and it seems to have all started around the Orisa patch. Now, I don't know if they deliberately changed something and that's been messing it up, or if it was just accidental and they're not really sure what's going on, but in either case, the number of disconnects, server crashes, and just failed to start bugs and all this other stuff has been steadily increasing. Just the other day, I had 3 matches in a row that failed to start because basically someone got disconnected right as the match was beginning. Now, I know it wasn't on their end because they were running around, they were talking, they were using voice chat, text chat, that sort of stuff, and then all of a sudden Blizzard just kicks him out of the game, and the poor guy, can't actually play the game. They get the 50 SR hit, and then, they're penalized for 10 minutes. But this new bug is so much significantly worse because it doesn't give you the normal SR penalty and then the quick little 10-minute suspension. Instead, you will get minus 600 SR. Basically, you can drop a full rank and then some if you get this bug. But I guess it really doesn't matter because you also get instantly banned for the rest of the season. And again, this is no fault of your own. This is 100% on Blizzard's end. So this has been going on for a couple of weeks, and there have been a bunch of people posting about this over on the official Overwatch forums, basically begging and pleading with Blizzard to do something and to correct this. And so far, Blizzard has absolutely refused to do anything about it, to fix it, or to really even acknowledge that it's a problem. So I want to quickly read you one of these posts so we can get a better idea of what's going on. So it says, when I was planning, I think it means playing, this afternoon in competitive, we were put in a waiting for additional player state, which has never happened before. I didn't leave, but other players left. Eventually the game said not enough players and booted me back to waiting for game. Then a new game started with the same group of players. I restarted the game, but it was stuck in the same cycle, so eventually I left. Then I took a break and opened Overwatch to check. I dropped from 2300 to 1666 SR and was banned. This seems like an obvious case of a bug, and I'm hoping to get reverting the ban. Please check. Thanks. This was weeks ago that this happened. And on top of that, I want to point out that the whole waiting for players stuff should never ever happen in competitive. That's not how competitive matches work. They find all the players, they put them together, and then the match starts. The only time the waiting for players stuff will happen is in like arcade and quick play. So flash forward a little bit, and there is another post by this person's fiance. And he says, my fiance hit a bug and lost her 600 SR and got an instant full season ban in a single match, along with others in the match as well, all with no prior disconnects. And he does provide some proof. There's some overbuff information. I'm going to put that stuff up on the screen right now. You can see that these players are losing 600 points in a single match. That should not happen. That should be impossible. And basically, when they tried to appeal this, the customer service staff basically said they can't do anything. This is kind of par for the course with what Blizzard does. They don't want you to lose a game or get disconnected, and then basically flood their customer service with, hey, I got disconnected, blah, 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 can you give me back my points? So Blizzard basically has this policy where they will never give you back your points or undo an automatic ban. but it's absolutely absurd because this is so unbelievably obvious that it is on Blizzard's end that this happened. Again, let's say even for the sake of argument that these players did disconnect on their end, they still lost an absolutely insane amount of points that they should not have been able to lose. Basically, what looks like it's happening is when these matches are failing and when this bug occurs, it treats it as if you are leaving a game many times as opposed to simply just getting disconnected from one game. Because if it did happen and you lost, the 50 SR and you got a 10-minute suspension, it would still be Blizzard's fault and it would still be annoying, but you can kind of deal with it, chalk it up to bad luck, and then just move on. But with this new bug, there's such a massive, undeserved penalty for not doing anything wrong. You can lose 600 SR, you can get a full season ban. And again, you didn't do anything. None of this should be possible. It's pretty blatantly obvious that this is a fault on Blizzard's end. But what's worse than all of that, what's worse than the fact that the customer service reps cannot actually fix this for you, is the fact that at least one Blizzard rep blatantly insulted one of the people that was trying to appeal this by linking them to a post that said, if you disconnect too many times, you're gonna get banned for the season. Basically insinuating that, oh, it was their fault because they kept disconnecting, even though this happened from the result of literally one match. It was one match that lost 600 SR and resulted in a full season ban. Like, that should not be possible. And yet, this customer service rep was insinuating that somehow it was the player's fault instead of, like, a severe bug on Blizzard's end. That's just insulting. Like, there's no other word for it. That is just blatantly insulting to the player that was complained and basically being penalized for doing absolutely nothing wrong. Now, I really need to emphasize something here. This is not just affecting one person. This has happened to a lot of players, and those are only the ones that we know about. The people that actually went out of their way to go and make a post on the official Overwatch forums. You can imagine that this has happened to a lot of other players who never went and made a post. Instead, they probably just called up Blizzard customer service, and then the customer service rep basically just told them to go pound sand and that they weren't going to fix it. So this has been happening to a lot of people. So something really interesting that I noticed about this when I was looking at these different cases was that the amount of points that they lost was directly tied to how long they got banned. So if they lost a really large amount of points, like 400, 500, 600, then it resulted in a full season ban. But if they only lost like 200 or 300 points, then they didn't get a full season ban. Instead, they would get like a 20-hour ban, which again is still completely unacceptable, but the fact still remains that the less points means less of a ban. So, I'm thinking what ends up happening is the game, the server, whatever, is treating you as if you are leaving multiple matches over and over and again. And the longer that you're in the game, the more matches it treats as if you're trying to leave. So I'm guessing while it's stuck in this kind of waiting for players phase, after a certain amount of time, it treats you as if you abandoned that match. So let's say it's like 20 seconds or 30 seconds or a minute or however long it is. Every time that little timer rolls around, it's like, oh, you just abandoned another match. Therefore, we're going to take off another 50 SR and increase your suspension. And then another minute goes by and it's like, okay, another 50 SR and another suspension on top of that. So what this means is that the longer you're in this waiting for players situation, the more points you're going to lose and the more of a ban you're going to get. So my recommendation to you is that first, there's absolutely no way you can completely avoid this. If it happens, it's going to happen. There's just nothing you can do about it. However, if you see this happen, if you get into a competitive match and it says waiting for players, my advice to you is to leave that match instantly. As fast as you possibly humanly can, leave that match. Yes, you're going to get a disconnect. Yes, you're going to get an SR penalty and some sort of suspension, but I think you're probably only going to get the minimum amount. If you do it fast enough, you're probably only going to lose like 50 or maybe 100 SR and get a very short suspension from it. Do not, absolutely do not, stay in a match if it says waiting for players. I'm talking about competitive here, not quick play or arcade. In competitive match, if it ever comes up with that waiting for players, get out as fast as you can, and maybe, just maybe, you'll minimize the damage to your account. So unfortunately, throwers and leavers are not the biggest problem on the competitive ladder. So what do you guys think about all this and Blizzard's policy of not refunding any of the points or undoing bans? Let me know in the comments section. Also, don't forget to check out my Discord server and follow me on Twitter, and I'll put the links to some of the posts that were made on the forums. All of that stuff will be down below in the description, so go check that out. Thanks for watching. Hit that like button. Remember, always blame the controller, because it's never your fault. Also, special thanks to all my Patreon supporters for helping to make this all possible. If you'd like to see what kind of cool rewards you can get for supporting the channel, check the links on screen and down below.